It's Friday, July 16. This is the news on PBCJ. I'm Simone Absalom Gale. A non-communicable disease, or NCD, is a disease that is not transmissible directly from one person to another. NCDs include autoimmune diseases, strokes, most heart diseases, most cancers, diabetes, chronic kidney disease, to name a few. Trans fats are said to play a major role in the development of NCDs. In an effort to curb this epidemic, the Health and Wellness Ministry launched an assessment of fats in Jamaica's food system. Portfolio Minister Dr. Christopher Tufton was joined by health professionals, both local and foreign, at Thursday's launch of the study. We get more from Carl Francis.
The survey was done on 296 different foods in Jamaica. The purpose was to find the prevalence of trans fat in local food consumption. The findings of the study were presented by Professor Fitzroy Henry, Professor of Public Health Nutrition.
First of all, let me give you the results. The samples with trans fat on labels are only about 59%. In other words, 175 out of the 296 had trans fat labels. Of those 175, 168 of them said there was zero trans fat. Only 7 samples had on their labels that a figure greater than 0 trans fat. Okay, this is what's on the label. We, just reporting what we saw.
Professor Henry took issue with what he termed as insufficient information on fat percentages on food labels.
Of the products that we had, the 296, only 73% of them had on their label information about total fat. It means we have a lot of work to do. We're talking about front of package labeling now. But even in the nutrition facts panel, we don't have information on total fat. And those that have information on total fat, where did they get that information? I think we all know that labeling in Jamaica is voluntary. It's not mandatory. It's voluntary. And we are hoping that the CARICOM process with CrossQ will move very quickly in making sure that these products have labels, and hopefully the labels will reflect what is in the product.
Portfolio Minister Dr. Christopher Tufton welcomed the findings and stressed the importance of the study.
What does the science and the data say? It says trans fats is the worst form of fat. It also says that some fats are good, as outlined in this study, and that we should say that, and we should say which type of fats are good for us, and at the same time highlight the consequences of those that are bad. It also says that 500,000 people each year meet their demise from the ongoing and consistent consumption of trans fats, which lead ultimately to coronary conditions, heart disease conditions. I'm not a doctor, but so forgive me if I slip up with one or two of the terminologies, but I'm sure you understand what I'm saying. Even more worryingly, the data is suggesting, which is where we have a real challenge, that existing data out there does not meet the fit and proper test, if you will, of accuracy and of sufficiency to give the consuming public at least a chance, an opportunity to make a decision around what is in their best interest.
As to the way forward, Dr. Tufton says the Health and Wellness Ministry will continue to take steps to implement policies and programs geared towards improving the food environment. He says this will be done with a view to addressing the current crisis of non-communicable diseases, NCDs. For the news on PBCJ, I'm Carol Francis.
The Statistical Institute of Jamaica, STATIN, says wholesale and retail trade, repair of motor vehicles and motorcycles emerged as the industry group recording the highest number of employed persons in April 2021. STATIN shared details of its recent labor force survey in a virtual quarterly briefing on Thursday. We have more in this report.
According to STATIN, persons are considered employed if they are engaged in economic activities for at least 1 hour during the reference week.
It is estimated that 1.2 million persons were employed in the labor force. This was 40,500 or 3.2% fewer persons when compared to the April 2019 survey. The number of males decreased by 30,600 or 4.4% to 661,900.
STATIN's Director General, Carol Coy. She says the wholesale and retail trade, repair of motor vehicles and motorcycles sector is leading the employment sector, having recorded 233,200 in April 2021.
The next largest industry was agriculture, forestry, and fishing, and that industry employed 192,200 persons. Construction was next with 118,400 persons. The arts, entertainment, recreation, and other services industries employed 106,900 persons, and the real estate and other business services employed 105,000 persons.
The largest declines in the employment sector was in the accommodation and food services. It fell by 18.1%.
And we would know that these industries were those that were most heavily impacted by the measures put in place to limit the spread of COVID-19.
Ms. Coy says the survey also looks at the employed labor force by occupation.
The occupation groups with the most employed persons were the professional senior officials and technicians, which employed 271,200 persons, service workers and shop and market sales workers, and this group employed 265,400 persons, skilled agricultural and fishery workers, and in this group we had 185,800 persons. Elementary occupations had 157,400 persons, and craft and related trade workers employed 155,100 persons.
She further pointed out that the service workers and shop and market sales workers group had the largest decrease in the number of persons employed.
The country is losing millions of dollars due to pension payment for deceased seniors being collected through fraudulent means. The matter was addressed at this week's meeting of the Public Accounts Committee, and a few suggestions were made on how to solve the problem. Melvin Pennant has the details.
Speaking at a recent PAC meeting, Accountant General Anya Jones noted the use of life certificates issued to over 1,200 pensioners in addition to home visits to ascertain if they are still alive. She says the COVID-19 pandemic has affected that process.
So there is the now approach, increase the visitation. COVID has not allowed for that during this era, but as soon as we can, we will continue. Team members have attempted visitation and they were not allowed into the household of some of these pensioners. So that is the now. Going forward is that of the interface with the RGD system.
A reduction in home visits mean a reliance on life certificates. However, PAC member Mrs. Juliet Holness has some concerns.
Basically, I would really want to hope we're not paying pension to individuals that we have not in any way verified. So if they're supposed to be receiving visitations, and if because of COVID they are not visited as frequently, it means that at no point did we think about how creative our people can be in beating systems, and we did not necessarily put anything in place. So if you have a life certificate, we should know that the individual, this is their picture, this is what they look like, this is their signature. So even if the JP who is signing doesn't quite know for sure the person, which shouldn't really happen, we literally should not have so many breakdowns along the way in identifying the individual and keeping in touch. In 33 months, it means that if you're paying $4.1 million over for just 23 dependents, it is a substantial problem. 23 is a small number of dependents that have been overpaid $4.1 million. And it means that we have to wonder how much more are we overpaying for persons less than 90?
PAC member Robert Miller agreed with the concern and shared his experience with the issue.
Because I've experienced it personally, where persons come in my presence to authorize a pensioner's signature. The pensioner is not there according to them, but the pensioner died when I did my own investigation, right? And I desist from signing it. I know persons are in the system that are doing that.
The use of video identification was suggested, but that too presented some liabilities.
Even in rural communities, a substantial amount of Jamaicans have smartphones. So immediately it would be good to ask everybody to find even one family member. The person who is carrying this life certificate should have access to a phone. So they use the phone and just put up grandma picture and say grandma there talking, or showing your grandma is still there. And that's how they came to collect the money. In the same way, every quarter they can find a way to come with a certificate to show you that this person is alive. A basic thing, somebody in the community must have a cell phone that can take a little video or something that gives you a timestamp or a virtual call, even during COVID, to show that this person still exists, that is collecting the pension with whomever is in charge of doing their visitations.
I don't know if you have a database with the pictures and that you can match it accurately. No, I don't know. You can answer Mrs. Jones, but what you don't want is people to go rent mommy or grandma. No, I'm being serious. Yeah, people may just decide that Tom Jones down the road is grandma and take a picture. So I don't know if you have a database to match it.
The Auditor General says legislation would have to be passed to use such technology in those circumstances. The department says plans are being made to resolve the issue. Meanwhile, several measures are being put in place to decrease the number of fraudulent pension collections.
What we have been doing is we have been scouting YouTube. Since COVID, most funerals, if not all, are live streamed on the YouTube. And we have one team member, I think, assigned to go through the YouTube videos, funeral services, and we try to do the match-up, date of birth and name. So we have attempted creativity just to make sure, and we actually came up on a matter where there were claims, and the YouTube video date of birth was able to help us. Now we have to be careful there because we can't go say you have died. We can say, could you provide us with additional proof?
More than $10 million is paid out annually to pensioners. Melvin Pennant, PBCJ News.
How can you avoid unscrupulous credit repair claims? Financial coach Denise Williams tells you how in this extended business report with Gabriel Thompson. We also get our regular market updates.
In Thursday's trading session, the JSE combined index declined by 618 points to close at over 423,000 units. Overall market activity resulted from trading in 86 stocks, of which 34 advanced, 36 declined, and 16 traded firm. The junior market index advanced by 45 points to close at over 3,000 units. Stocks advanced for Access Financial Services Limited, Barita Investments Limited, and Caribbean Cement Company Limited. Stocks declined for 138 Student Living Jamaica Limited, 1834 Investments Limited, and Berger Paints Jamaica Limited. Trading firm were Blue Power Group Limited, CAC 2000 9.5% preference shares, and Caribbean Assurance Brokers Limited. Trans-Jamaican Highway Limited was the volume leader with over 1.4 million units, followed by Lumber Depot Limited with over 1.3 million units, and Trans-Jamaican Highway Limited USD with over 1.1 million units. In foreign exchange trading for Thursday, July 8, the US dollar sold for an average $155.24. The Canadian dollar ended trading at $124.19. The pound sterling traded for $213.60, and the euro sold for an average $186.76. In market data for oil, Brent crude futures rose 0.66 points to close at $74.78 a barrel. West Texas Intermediate crude added 0.82 points to settle at $73.76 a barrel. In this week's edition of Financially Focused, financial success coach Denise Williams discusses avoiding unscrupulous credit repair claims as part of building your financial success tools.
Andreen sold her house to clear off her bank debt, but still ended up owing the bank because of interest and fees. Okay. And so the ability to repair credit on her own proved detrimental. Because I also shared in the video, Andreen is living in a really small room in her daughter's home. So that said, before you reach out to a professional credit restoration specialist, you should educate yourself. Even if you don't want to do it, you don't want to go through the paperwork, and you do want support, educate yourself. Okay, so you may be asking, what could Andreen have done differently in terms of trying to keep her house? Well, one of the strategies that's really important is what we call a credit freeze. And I learned about a credit freeze, of course, formally in my training, but when it became apparent, and let me just go back. So in 2010, my son was born with a host of medical conditions associated with Down syndrome, and I had already had my first son, and so I'm juggling two babies, and just regular day-to-day life, and so I'm dealing with all kinds of medical complications and the bills. Then in 2012, I was basically fired from a high-paying job because I was working on fumes. I was exhausted, and the company felt that I wasn't really a credit to them. Okay. Now, all of a sudden, I was overwhelmed with a sick child, medical bills, bad debt, and the daily running of my household. Now, what did I do to give myself breathing room? It is the same thing that Andreen should have done. If she was my client, I would have counseled her to get a credit freeze. Very, 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 very critical. So a credit freeze is just one of the many tools that you can do yourself in credit repair and credit restoration to give yourself time to reorganize your debt. Now, critical thing. A credit freeze is not a get out of debt card. This is not you saying, oh, I now have credit freeze, I don't have to pay. Far from that. Credit freeze is a strategy to allow you to pay down what you owe. I want to encourage you, because this is something that's huge in other countries, that you should be aware that there are a lot of fake promises that's going to get you to say they can get you out of debt. So I want to talk about the signs of a scam, because again, remember, the premise of this conversation we're having is that you can do credit repair yourself. You can sit down, go through the raw data that's provided in your credit report. You can sit down and craft the letters. You can just basically do it all by yourself. You need to watch out, though, for persons who are offering you a guaranteed solution. There's no guaranteed other than you need to pay back the money. That's something that's guaranteed. You bring in credit restoration when you need help because you cannot pay it off right away. But that doesn't mean it's guaranteed the bank is going to agree. It's a negotiation. You have to have the right language, So we don't want persons to feel like, oh, I'm drowning in debt. I'm going to join this guaranteed program, and then the debt's no longer a problem. Have to pay back what you owe. What credit restoration does is provide a strategy, and it provides a language. And so a lot of these legal guaranteed persons are saying, look, they'll take care of it for you. No. It's no. You need to get your free credit report, and that's where everything starts. Without the credit report, credit restoration, credit repair, whether you pay for help or you do it yourself, nothing happens until you understand where you are. And so I'm really excited that Financially Focused and the Caribbean Credit Repair Association has teamed up to launch the credit restoration professional training course to empower individuals not only to resolve their own credit matters, but to enter a new profession. It's really, really exciting because the truth is not everybody wants to do the credit repair work themselves. And so communities can benefit from solid guidance to build back their good name. So people in the communities, can get the guidance. And this is what makes it, very exciting. Now, let me repeat. Credit restoration strategies like a credit freeze do not wipe away your debt. Okay? When you are really in need of a credit repair, the first thing you want to do is act immediately. It should be done by you and not by anyone else. Okay? And so here is how you can take back your power.
Thanks, Denise. For more information on the development of your financial future, head on over to financiallyfocusedmedia.com or find Denise on YouTube at Financially Focused. And on that note, we close this extended edition of the Business Report Inside the News on PBCJ. I'm Gabrielle Thompson. Pleasant viewing.
In news from across the region, in the Bahamas, a dwindling supply of the AstraZeneca vaccine has prompted the Vaccine Consultative Committee to halt the administration of first doses. This means only second doses will be administered for the time being. Some Bahamians are calling this unacceptable. Kyle Walking has the details.
While there are those who kind of understand, there are those who are questioning after all of the pleas for people to come in and get vaccinated. How could there be a shortage?
Yeah, but I don't understand how they can run out,
Annette Christophilus got her COVID-19 vaccinations in the U.S., opting to take the Moderna vaccine. But she says after months upon months of hearing public officials make a plea for Bahamians to get vaccinated, running out would be the last thing she expected to happen. And she's not alone.
I mean, why would they push you if they knew they should have more vaccine available for people? I mean, I was thinking about going this week.
In a statement, the committee said the administration of the AstraZeneca COVID-19 vaccine will be limited to second doses until additional doses of the vaccine are received in country. The administration of first doses will resume once additional COVID-19 vaccination supplies have been received. According to that statement, this shortage shouldn't last long, saying the Bahamas is scheduled to receive 33,600 doses of the AstraZeneca vaccine before the end of July through the COVAX facility. In the meantime, John Boleg wonders how the country has stumbled upon a shortage.
I don't think it's acceptable. In the crisis, I don't think that it's acceptable.
The push for vaccinations has been a hard one from the government's end, with the Prime Minister even making another call in his recent independence message.
That's not good.
Michael Tucker says while he's not one eager to get the vaccine, there could be those who may have recently made up their mind to do so.
So how is it we have a shortage? That doesn't make any sense to me. It would be nice if everybody could get a vaccine, but I'm not interested.
As of July 2nd, over 97,000 doses of the AstraZeneca vaccine have been administered in the Bahamas. Over 60,000 have received at least their first dose, with 37,000 fully vaccinated. Health Minister Renwood Walt said on Tuesday the Bahamas is set to get 57,000 doses of the Pfizer vaccine through the COVAX facility, but he could not say how soon. For Our News, I'm Kyle Joaquin.
Over now to sports. Members of the sports sector can now access the single-shot Johnson & Johnson coronavirus vaccine. Health workers began administering the vaccine on Thursday, July 15, at the Mona Aging and Wellness Center located on the grounds of the University of the West Indies Mona campus. More from Marlon Samuels.
Members of Jamaica's sports sector began receiving the single-jab COVID-19 vaccine, produced by Johnson & Johnson on Thursday, July 15.
The Jamaica Scorpion and members of the Jamaica Tallow, Jamaica Cricket Association made the arrangements for them to be present here, and things are going extremely well. So I really want to encourage other members of the sports sector to make themselves available to be vaccinated.
Jamaica has so far received 600 doses of the Johnson & Johnson vaccine. 300 additional doses of the vaccine arrives in the island on Friday, July 16.
We had 600 doses brought in through the efforts of former Reggae Girls Coach Hugh Menzies. In addition to that, the NHF, the National Health Fund, through the chairman, Mr. Howard Mitchell, has arranged an additional 300 doses. And of course, the Ministry of Foreign Affairs has been involved in those arrangements. And so we are inviting persons in the sports sector to get in touch with the ministry and to make themselves available to be vaccinated. The beauty about it, it's just one jab in this case. We're also going to be making arrangements to encourage persons in the entertainment sector to also come and be vaccinated. So I'm ensuring that within my ministry and the various sectors that I serve, that they are vaccinated and they are protected from getting the COVID-19 virus.
Minister Greens have always done great work. She's one of the ministers who I think has worked very hard. The record is there to show. The contribution from Mr. Mendes is very significant. It is something that borders heroism. He has done something that will allow our country to be able to resume some normalcy. I have an appreciation how difficult it may be to acquire a vaccine internationally. And so therefore for us to have gotten this, and for many of our stakeholders, and in particular for persons who are going to be working throughout the test match as at this stage, this is something significant, and it is a move in the right direction. Because a lot of our cricketers are international players and they would have played around the region. A significant amount of them have already been vaccinated. Our Scorpion team now, significant amount has been vaccinated. What we're going to try to do now is to get most of our local players with the clubs and parishes based on the number of vaccines that are available, so we can get those persons vaccinated. And then now we will feel much more comfortable based on the science to have those persons playing cricket.
Seen as a cost-effective alternative to the Pfizer and Moderna vaccines, the single-shot Johnson & Johnson vaccine can be safely stored in a refrigerator instead of a freezer.
The more persons who are vaccinated, the sooner we can get back to living a normal life. It may not be the usual normal, it may be a new normal, but the fact is that we want to encourage everyone to be protected, ensure that you are protected. And in addition to getting the vaccine, you continue to observe the protocol. You sanitize, you wear your mask, and you are compliant, keep your distance. This is a time when we all have to accept personal responsibility.
I want to say to the sportsmen and women, especially because they're also leaders, and they're leaders in their communities, I want to appeal to them to encourage people to come and get their vaccine. Know that we will have done 41 today. We did 170 earlier. So we have a number of athletes that have had their vaccine, that are well, and hopefully will now be the role models in their communities to appeal not only to the younger people to come and get the vaccine, but appeal to the younger people who are hesitant on behalf of their elders. And that's a group, as you know, I'm particularly interested in, to encourage them to bring their grandparents to get their vaccine. We need to fight COVID, and the only way to fight COVID is through vaccines.
For the news on PBCJ, I'm Marlon Samuels.
And with that, we're out of here. On behalf of our hard-working production team, we tell you thanks for making it PBCJ, the People's Station.